We are recording. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Diane Bandow.
I'm so glad you could join us today. This effort to present a sip of Merlot has come about as the result of the efforts of Dr. Fortune at Detroit and the Teach Effectiveness Committee. That was one of the basic committees we established in the School of Business. I'm honored to have with us today Swift, who is currently a consultant to MERLOT because she is retired, but before she retired, she was the Director of Academic Partner Services. For those of you who don't know, Troy is a partner in MERLOT, and there are some tremendous resources available to us to use in the classroom to improve learning and student performance. And I'd like to turn it over to her at this point, and let's see what we can learn about MERLOT.
Thanks, Dr. Bandow. I'm happy to be here today. I'm so used to calling Diane because we're in a
that's fine.
Okay. As Diane had mentioned, we're going to do a sip of Merlot, and you will find out that we to use a lot of the wine analogies because of the name of Merlot, but there is significance to the name. If you look on the screen here, it is called the Multimedia Educational Resource Learning and Online Teaching. And I tell people it's not just online teaching, but it can be used in any type of teaching. And what we're going to do today, the game plan is, I'll just give you a brief introduction to Merlot. We'll talk about the process of Merlot, how things operate. To me, most beneficial, though, is actually going to Merlot and finding materials that you can use in your classroom. And so we'll get to that eventually. And I do want to touch on peer reviewers. Diane got started in Merlot, and we'll have time for questions and comments. I also mentioned to Inga that if a question occurs to you on talking, you put it in the chat room, and she will either interrupt me or let it pause until the end of time, and then not the end of the time, but the end of what I'm talking about, the slide or whatever. And then she can ask me that question. So please feel free. This is an exploration on your part. A lot of people ask about what Merlot is, and I'm always defending this, what we are, and really more than just one thing, beyond the acronym. We are a collection of open educational resources, and that's kind of a very tiny topic for a lot of people because open educational resources have become very important in the field of education. But beyond the materials that we have, we also have a community, and everybody's involved in education, and you can be a contributor, you can be a peer reviewer, you can participate in the editorial board. So when we refer to Merlot, it's also all the people that are involved in Merlot. And then finally, we have a curated set of learning materials that we triage, which means we determine whether we want to peer review them, and we peer review them for the quality of the material, the ease of use, and the potential for learning of that material. Just a very quick history of Merlot. Actually, were launched back in 1997, and a simulation that showed what happens during an earthquake. And he wanted to share that with a physicist on a campus, but he, at that time, did not have any means of sharing it. So the Educational Technology Department decided they'd figure out a way, and they came up with this idea of Merlot and a central place for campuses to share. But they thought, this could be even better if we shared with other systems. And the pilot program in 1998, I was actually a faculty member at the Georgia Southern University at that time, and the University System of Georgia became involved as one of the pilot partners. We had Cal State, University System of Georgia, Oklahoma, and North Carolina. And we actually piloted a program of how, first of all, how on earth do you evaluate teaching it and learning materials, because no one had ever done it before. And we worked to come up with a way of doing that. And then also we had to find materials that we could share with others. We worked on that for a couple of years, and then in the 2000, we expanded from those 4 basic disciplines to 20. And in 2014, we then had 22 different disciplines, 20 systems, and 18 campus partners. So we started from just the Cal State attempt to share resources to becoming an international group of faculty who are sharing resources. MERLOT is very, very unique, and that's really why we've been around for so long. We are supported by partners. There are a lot of other attempts at building some type of repository for materials, but most of the time people apply for grants to start a repository, and once the grant is up, they don't get funding anymore, and it just kind of dies out. But MERLOT is supported by partners, and I mentioned we have academic partners, we have system partners, and campus partners, and Troy happens to be one of our campus partners. They do provide financial support. Major partner is the Cal State system, but we do have a lot of other partners participating. We all have partners with professional affiliates, and one of the ones that I've noted here is Quality Matters. We work closely with Quality Matters. They are to use the courses that we have in our section to evaluate material, and it's kind of a training program for those who want to be Quality Matters reviewers. We have other professional affiliates, I just won't mention them. And then we have a few corporate partners, and an example is Blackboard, SoftChalk, and it's normally because we're working on a project with them. The partners that provide support for MERLOT are those academic partners. We get anything much from Blackboard or SoftChalk. When you think about the types of materials in MERLOT, we have 20 different types of materials, and this list has grown over time, but we've got animations, we've got simulations, we've got complete textbooks, we've got on courses that you can look at and either model yours after that course or get ideas for something that you might be doing in your course. A lot of different types of materials, and we have a lot of different disciplines. We started out MERLOT, we had 4 editorial boards: business, biology, physics, and teacher ed. And I started out actually as we called it a leader back then in business. We've since revised that, and it's an editor of business, but we do cover, as you can see, a lot of other areas, both discipline areas and then some like faculty development, instructional technology, and library and information services. They're not actually discipline, but they do support the academic function. Okay, so by the numbers, right now we have over 78,000 materials in the collection. Over 4,400 of those are peer-reviewed. Now that's a fairly small percentage, but it's a lot to get a peer review done, and we're always looking for peer reviewers. Also, many of the materials don't get peer reviewed. We'll talk a little bit more about the peer review in a few minutes. We also have over 144,000 people who are members of MERLOT. Membership is free. We just ask you to fill out a little bit of background information, primarily to keep people from hacking the system and that sort of thing. Members can access certain materials or do certain things in MERLOT. However, you don't have to be a member to use MERLOT, and I'll explain that when we get to the actual website. Last night, and I believe I had 134 people at the university. No, I think it was 234 people at Troy University who are members of MERLOT, and I think there were 44 of them were in the business school. So I already have some people who are members of MERLOT. I don't know to what degree they're participating, but at least they are members of MERLOT. People of MERLOT, really, when you think about an academic journal, we're really organized like a journal editorial board. We've got members, and you can think of these people as subscribers to the journal. Members can search for materials, they can contribute materials, can create a bookmark collection, which is kind of handy because it's a favorites list, so you can get back to it anytime you come to MERLOT. Then we have peer reviewers. And peer reviewers have to go through a special training do the peer reviews. It's a 3-week training that we do that takes an hour each week. And peer reviewers actually review the materials. And all you need to do to be a peer reviewer is be teaching in a discipline. And of course, the interest in peer reviewing, that's the key thing. And they also move beyond that to our editorial boards. And we have an associate editors. Now, in business, I am the editor of the business editorial board, and Bandau is an associate editor of management. So a little bit more involved, and I'll just give you Diane's responsibilities. Anytime a management material is added to MERLOT, and materials can be contributed by a member, it does not have to be something that you have authored yourself. We don't want duplicate materials in the collection, but anybody can add materials. But she will look at all the materials that come in the management area, and she will make a decision about, this looks like it's a fairly high quality material, we want to peer review this first. And so she kind of sets a list of materials that we're going to be high quality, and so those are going to be the ones that we peer review first. And the editorial boards also post the final review, which you'll see on the MERLOT site when we go there. As evaluating materials, really interesting about this peer review process is when we sat down back in 1998, asked ourselves, how do you go about reviewing a teaching and learning material? We came up with these 3 criteria. The quality of content, which really speaks to the validity and reliability of the information in that resource. The potential effectiveness as a teaching learning tool is something that students can really learn from. And ease of use. And the ease of use, it has to do with whether there are navigation bars, whether the font is clear, just some things like that that make it easy to use. Because if it's not easy to use, and students are struggling with it, then the potential effectiveness as a teaching material is less. So those 3 criteria that we use, and we evaluate the material using 5 stars. And 5 stars is a very high quality. That's the top. And we look at it in 0.5 increments. So you can have a material that's evaluated as a 4.5 or a 3.75 or whatever. And we actually develop that rating for each of these. So you could have something that would be very quality, but the effectiveness, maybe it's not going to engage students, or maybe it's not going, it's too high level for my undergraduate students. The ratings are not always the same. You have 3 different ratings, and then we take the average of the rating. Okay, let me just stop and see if there are any questions right now. Has anything up at all? I didn't see anything in the chat room.
I had one request so far for the PowerPoint, so if you could provide those to me after the meeting, then I'll send those out to everybody. No other questions so far.
Okay, let me get now to the MERLOT homepage. Okay, I want to share. You're not seeing that, right? I need to screen again. Sorry. Zoom. I know all of these are very, very similar. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's the MERLOT homepage. And I'm going to move Inga down here, the things upside down a little bit, just to show you a few things. There's a lot of information here, and it would take you a lot of time to go through all of the information, but just a couple of things. Join MERLOT, you can request that every time you come to MERLOT, you're identified, and I stay logged in all the time. It says, hi, Kathy Smith, because I always come back to MERLOT. If you're not currently a member of MERLOT, I'm just going to go down here and log out. You can easily come in. Now, you can use MERLOT. I'm logging me out. You can use MERLOT, heart's content, without being a member of MERLOT, but we really do encourage you to become a member of MERLOT and to join the community. So, if you're not a member of MERLOT and you're not signed in, this will appear, the login or sign up, and so you'll come up here, and let me move you down a little bit. If you're not a member of MERLOT, you can sign up, and I'm just going to click on that right now. And a simple widget that walks you through the different steps to join. We ask you to identify your discipline, your affiliation, like Troy University, and then for you to create a username and password. So it's a very simple process of joining MERLOT. Again, there's no cost. We have enough information that we don't, I'm getting myself back in again, that we don't send any email out. We do send a newsletter out maybe twice a year, and you have the option of opting out of that. So you're not going to get spammed, I guess, is my point here, because I know that happens quite a bit. I had talked to Diane and Inga about prior to this session. I'd like to have you, if you would, put your name and your discipline in the chat room. So go to the chat room. If you're not familiar with WebEx, it'll be up at the top. There's and it says chat room. The opportunity to put your name. Actually, have the opportunity to put anything in. I'm just asking for your name and your discipline. Okay, Maureen. Okay, if I call you Maureen. Maureen Reyes is in accounting. Okay, super. Now, say that, and we'll come back to Justin if he's in something else, okay? Let's say that Maureen looking for something to use in her course. She wants to kind of involve students a little bit more, or spice up, or just try something different. Two ways of finding materials in MERLOT. One of them is by searching, and the other is by browsing. So this box is what I find I use the most in MERLOT. Search MERLOT. We search materials, and searching materials is when you're looking for something specific. So we'll go back to searching materials. Just think about, I want to do a break-even analysis, or so that in my class tonight, kind that, and in that case we would search. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to browse all materials. It's the fourth listed down here. I'm going to click on Browse All Materials. Very slow today, I apologize for that. Here on the left, you can see a list of disciplines, and these are really the top categories. We were fortunate that we got business as a top level category when we started out. You can number after the here is how many materials. So we have over 6,000 materials in business. So I'm going to click on the business. Anything that is underlined on MERLOT is a link. You accounting, and you have a lot of different business disciplines here, sub-disciplines. I'm going to click on accounting, and I see that we have 619 materials in accounting. What we're doing right now is we are just drilling down within the disciplines. And Maureen, let me ask you one more again. What what subdiscipline or which area of this would you like to look in? We've got forensic accounting, we've got auditing, introductory, in the chat room. Okay. So I'm going to click on introductory, and there are 153 materials in introductory. I'm going to click on that. I'm moving this chat screen down a little bit. This we call our hit list, and so there are 153 materials in introductory accounting, and 10 listed on each page. And what I really like about browsing is when you browse, you are the materials are sorted by the overall rating, which is where the peer review comes into play. So it's the overall rating, and it's where the best materials pop up first. And I'll just show you, you want to look at the drills for accounting basics. That's pretty simple. Click on drills for accounting basics, and this takes us to the material listing in MERLOT. When I said that anybody can add materials to MERLOT, all of the information under this area here that's in the maroon, all of this information below has been added by the person who submitted the material. And we come down here and we can see that Susan Moncada, who happens to be the associate editor of accounting, Susan Moncada submitted this, but created by Accounting Coach. She also put a description up here. You can easily read the description, but let's say we want to find out more information before we go to the material. Here we have the peer review rating, and it has a 5-star rating, and also have a user rating, and that's anybody who's a member of MERLOT can look, material or look at a material and can make a comment on that material. They are, though. So the best information about this material is to go to the peer review. So I'm going to click on peer reviews, and we'll go to actual peer review of this drills accounting basics. Now, you can see up in the right-hand corner, we've got the different stars, but we'll see those down below, too. Here's what we call the overview. And the overview has some general information with it. It's a very extensive course. It could be used in high school and lower division college. You can see all the different topics that it covers. It looks like a fairly extensive course. It gives you general information, but the real value is down here in the peer reviews. And so here are our 3 criteria: content quality, and 5 stars in content quality. And for each of these, we look at the strength, what is good about this material, and we all look at the concerns. And for reading this, if used by unprepared or underprepared students, the assessments may not be adequate. The module is excellent. It could be improved by incorporating different methods of assessment. Even though they have that concern, it's still good enough that they gave it 5 stars. And we have the potential effectiveness, because it looks like it has a real variety of different materials and quizzes and crossword puzzles. And then we have the ease of use. Now, this looks like it's a 4.75 because it's got a little point of the star missing. And they have a concern that there are a lot of links to advertisements, and that detracts from the learning. So what you can do is you can come to this peer review before you even think about using the material, see what the expert said. And I consider anybody who is teaching at a post-secondary institution has to be an expert in that topic, because you have had all your schooling in that topic, you write articles, you do research, you go to conferences, so you are perceived as an expert in that area. So we had, for a peer review, we have 2 reviewers review the material, and then the associate editor looks at it also. So we've really got 3 people looking at that material and put together this peer review. So you can pretty much rely on what they have to say. But instead of just looking at what the peer review is, we're fortunate here in that we have that have also a user rating here, and look down, and there's a discussion, and we're going to look at the discussion and these comments that have been added users. A Creative Commons license, I don't know the answer to that. Here's a faculty member who says, I'm including the link in my Accounting 2 course. It's great for review. Something, I had found this site when teaching accounting. I forward this on to my dean. I found this to help with online instruction. So it's good sometimes to read what users, faculty members say. Many times we have comments from students, and I've seen a student comment that said something along the line of, this really helped me pass my industry accounting course or Accounting 101, and they do contribute those types of comments. So the comments from others, these are members, authors, and many times students too. So we have read what people said about it. They haven't even looked at it yet. Now, what I think is important to understand, I say that MERLOT is a Google for educators. And you went to Google and you're looking for drills for accounting basics, I'm not sure what type of material you would find. But come to MERLOT, you know it is a learning resource. We do not host this material. We actually point you, just like Google does. Here's a link to the material. So I'm going to go down here and click on Go to Material. Takes me to a site called Accounting Coach. Starts out with quizzes. So I have available quizzes, and I guess most, okay, there are also flashcards, crossword puzzles, there are word scrambles, but the quiz, I know, Maureen, let's look at one. Let's look at the Accounting Basics quiz. I've not looked at this before, so I'm kind of fancy here. Okay, here's the Accounting Basics quiz. Okay, so the students choose the answers for each of these, and I imagine it grades the quiz and gets back, marks that this quiz is complete, and I think it will go back and give the students an answer on how well they did on the quiz. So we got quizzes here. We also, over on the left, Maureen, you can look at Accounting Basics. Maybe you want something on Accounting Equation. We can click on Accounting Equation. Have quiz come up on that. This is some supplemental material. Okay, so got some review material. Again, I've not looked at this site before. They have an explanation in 11 parts as kind of a review for your students. They can take the quiz. They can have a crossword puzzle as another fun way of finding things out. Oh, sorry, this is review question and answer. I missed that, and there is a practice quiz. So, Maureen, let me ask you, how do you think you would use this material? And I don't think you have a voice, so you can certainly put that in the chat room. A test review, absolutely. And you could give this, if you were teaching a face-to-face class, you could give the link to students in an online class. We've got a test coming up on Accounting Equation. Go here and see, you use the quiz and see how well you do on the quiz. Saying as a test review, absolutely, and for the formative assessment, absolutely. Here's a wonderful resource. We've had our peer reviewers say it's great, and we've had several faculty members say, I wish I'd known this before I started, or back when I was teaching accounting, or before I started teaching accounting. So really, really good resource here, and this is just one of them. we can check and look for, we got 100 and some materials in it for accounting basics or introductory accounting, I think is what we looked at. My net was completely off yesterday, and I'm just happy I have it back, even if it's slow today. Hang in there, and we'll get back to I know what I need to resolve. I need that to hit list. So one, here's something, counting Monopoly. It looks like a game, and them to a complete, opportunity to complete most of the accounting cycle. There's an open textbook, Principles of Accounting. If people are looking at using free textbooks in their classes, that's available. A lot of different types of resources. And just for Maureen's sake, since we are in introductory accounting, I went over here to the left, and there's a drop-down list called material types. And if you only want maybe online courses in introductory accounting, use that box, and it'll provide the online courses that we have. Because many institutions, Berkeley, we've got some IT courses. Some are probably maybe too hard for me, but I might want to just look at what they're doing and, adjust something with what you're doing. You're quite welcome, Maureen. I'm trying to get text box up to where it was before. Okay, I know we had Jeff. Jeff is information systems. Is that? So for Jeff, what I'm going to do, just going to go back to business. I'm going to browse. We'll go back. I'm going to go back to the home page so we can go through this again. So drilling down, it gets. We're going to browse for materials this time. You can look for people too, and that's how I found the people who are members at Troy. But browse all materials. We're going to click on that, and we'll go the same process that we did before. We'll click quickly on business. We don't have to talk about that one anymore. And see that we do have a wide variety of materials here. So I'm going to click on information systems. Now, I did give one caveat here is information systems has not. We don't have an associate editor right now, so some of the materials that are peer reviewed may be older. Information technology has kind of pulled all people away from that, but let's just go to information systems because we've got 323 materials in it. So as I've clicked on information systems, and because we don't have an associate editor right now, we don't have subtopics in information systems. Both Steve and Jeffrey are. So knowledge of information systems is pretty slim. So I'm going to just browse down through some of these. We also used to put any type of tutorial like this into that area, and I know that's not what you're doing now. E-commerce is not it. What about processing integrity challenge? Materials, yes, you can. Let me do. I had a question from Jeff, which was, can we process it by, we're in information systems. Now we're going to come over to the left where it says material types, and we're going to get a drop-down list of the materials that we have. And what would you like, Jeff? Sorry. Case studies, okay. So we have 13 case studies. And that should immediately go to it. Yeah. Information systems, and it's learning information systems, so that's not really correct. Any of these appeal to you? again, none of these have peer reviews. Okay. It's comment a course. That would be great, Jeff. Sorry, I don't have as much. Again, we've just had it as the break, one of the subtopics in business, and information technology has taken away a lot of that, even though information systems is an important part of business.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Can you stop you for a quick question?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. So an instructor links a resource, puts a resource in their class. Do students have to sign up for MERLOT? Or will they only see the resource that I link, or can go through the whole system?
People have students sign up for you don't need to do that. We could come back here. Well, fortunately, I've got this tab up again. This tab, and if I'm teaching an online system or a course, we're not trying to get anything out of it. We want you to find resources easily. So you find this is a URL that you can pop into your online course. The students go there directly. They don't have to come through MERLOT. They don't even have to know about MERLOT. The question? I saw Jeff's comment about we're used to being unloved. Sorry about that.
That does answer the question. Thank you.
Okay. So you use the URL and go directly there. It makes it a lot easier than have to come and search for it in MERLOT. Kind of did Jeff and Steve a disfavor here by having any. I did see somebody else though who is management, and that's great to have. A little bit further. I was in management. Red management. But is there anybody else?
We do have we have doctors in management, Dodd Walker and Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones is law and management. We also have Dr. Ogunburi with marketing as well.
Okay. So that helps me. My field was marketing, so that helps me a lot too. And fortunately, we're back at the business sub list. So I'm going to do management last because I want Diane to come in on a few of these because I know she's used MERLOT. But we mentioned business law. And let's see, I want to go back to business because right now we're in information systems. So let me just click up here to get back to the business listing. And we have one material in business law that advises me, but in business law. And we mentioned marketing, so I'm going to, these numbers are bad. Let me just go back to the beginning. We have a lot more. I've still got case studies checked. That have to be careful sometimes when you do that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the search screen opens up to this, and you can all browse all materials. We'll go back to that. And we'll business. Okay, that's business law. We have 82 materials. Something wrong with that number. So I'll just quickly click on business law. We probably don't have many of them peer-reviewed because we don't have an associate editor or peer reviewers in business law. Some of them may have been peer-reviewed in another area. But certainly look in here. There are probably issues, the basics of product liability. So there's probably Law Encyclopedia, which probably is cross-listed with law in general. So there are some textbooks, some free textbooks that are in here that have to do with business law. I'm to marketing. Who it was that is in marketing? Help me there.
It's Dr. Akins Ogunbudi.
Okay, could put Dr. Akins that we have the marketing fields, subdisciplines listed here. Which one do you like to look at? Put that in the chat room.
She's interested in global marketing.
International. And we also have a category of international business too, in the business category. So we'll look at international marketing because this is specifically international marketing. And we have one site. It's a presentation. A presentation on the global marketplace, and this actually has a peer review of 5 stars. So do the same thing I did before, global marketplace. I'll click on that. Again, we read about it, and this happened to be submitted by me and created by somebody at San Diego State University. The peer review, we can look quickly. Again, we have information at the top. We move down. Not a very extensive peer review, quite frankly. I'm a little disappointed in this. I like to see a little bit more. But 4.75 stars for the content quality. Potential effectiveness is 5 stars, and you can read that absolutely no concerns about it. And ease of use, 5 stars for that. And it says, I highly recommend this to individuals who have a hard time understanding the relevance of marketing or its concept. So be something that you might want to use resource in your class to send your students to find out more. It could be something that you want to look at yourself and maybe some additional information or a way of presenting information. So I'll go back to that and we'll just look at, now we're going to go to material. Actually, the source is consumer psychologist on international marketing. Okay, so he's basically just written information about the global marketplace. And you could send your students here to get more supplemental information than they have in your classes. It's got some diagrams in it. Different writing may have some different understandings, different types of cultural marketing. A lot of different information in here. You may be covering some of this in your class already, but it could also be a good supplement for you to use, or for you to say, well, you know, that's something I don't mention in class. I'm going to use that, or use that example. Okay, go back here and I want to go back to business again, because I'm going to bring Diane in on this. And what I'd like to have her do, I'm still marketing. I'm sorry, I was looking for management and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't there. Okay. I'm going to go back to the business listing and management. And Diane, do you want to just talk about what you've done, or do you want to instruct me to go through this and find some things?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bit of both, because there's some recent reviews that were completed in there. Just to give an idea of the extensive types of material that we receive. For example, there is an HRM guide, that an international HR portal with a lot of information in it that might be of interest to the HR folks. That was a fairly recent contribution. Another one was the Army Leadership Guide. There was also an item that was recently reviewed on managing groups and teams, a different site on strategy methods, models, and theories. The most interesting, not exactly a collection by the definition of MERLOT, but we had a number of syllabi from the MIT Sloan School of Management. One of them that particularly worked well for the management department was managerial psychology. That was just recently reviewed. We have, for those of you who know, I'm sorry?
Okay, you mentioned several different materials. What I'd like to do is do a search for each of these, and that way we can also demonstrate the search. So you said the syllabi were called what?
Okay, it was managerial psychology. I think a lot are pending review yet.
There is a search up here, maybe advanced search, but let's just try the term managerial psychology. Through the search, you are then getting materials that are most relevant rather than the best rated. So then here, Diane, I'm not sure which one.
That's it, 15.301 and 310.
Okay. This is a complete online course, okay. Now, this is an editor review. Oh, let me just, I don't want that to go yet. Oh, well, it'll show up here. One of the things I did not explain is the difference between an editor review, which is what this has, and a peer review. The peer review has gone through the complete process of peer review, two viewers, the associate editor. We sent to the author for their approval, and then we finally posted on MERLOT. So the peer reviews that we've looked at have gone through that process. When it has an editor review, this means that what Diane did was take a look at it and say, she gave it 5 stars. And she said, wow, this looks like a really high quality material. We want to get this peer reviewed right. Been assigned to it yet, but it looks like we're definitely going to peer review it. Okay, so you want me to go to the material, Diane?
Sure. I have the next one lined up for the next example then.
Now, you notice we have left MERLOT, and we are at MIT. They have all of their courses online, which is, when you're taking one, I don't think, these are for MIT students, but I think you can learn a lot from what other people have designed with their courses. Now, what would you like me to look at, Diane?
Well, I go to the readings, but some of them, different materials might be interesting.
Let's look at the readings. Things that have been assigned in the class, and you could easily use these readings. Some of these you have to buy on Amazon. Some are from various journals. So, at least an idea of what to buy, what to use. Manuscript would not be very helpful, but some of them could be. What else would you like to look at, Diane?
The topics. Just scroll down a little bit. The topics for the.
That would be in the course home?
Right there.
Oh, right there. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, you use this, Diane. Let me ask you.
When you're looking at content for your course, the whole list down the left-hand side that's numbered can give you some ideas for areas that you may or may not have and may or may not want to include. And then, of course, the readings on the other side would give you ideas about where to go for particular articles that support that outside of the textbook.
And a lot of times we want to read what they're discussing on motivation in MIT, and maybe I get some ideas of different ways to present material to my students. That's what I think about.
Yeah, more important things we do when we start a course is to get the interest there at the beginning. So it's nice to have a hook. So if you go to one of the articles and find something that is particularly interesting or compelling, that sometimes is a good thing to put out in the first week of class, especially online.
They also notes and say that I haven't taught this class for a while. I'm not quite sure about motivation. Well, they don't have for motivation, unfortunately. Cognitive style. Maybe I want, even for myself, I want to kind of beef up what I know about cognitive style. So I could go to this, we'll go to the PDF here. And, these are the lecture notes of the professor. And maybe just reading through these and maybe getting an idea from these notes from the professor about something I had never discussed in class before, but this is really cool. So these end up being PowerPoint. And again,
another topic that I think that it's up and coming is, of course, social media and social influence. And he had some notes in there on social influence.
Okay, on that PDF. So these slides that are in the form of PDFs. Just, here's something simple I've seen in magazines before. Great way to start off the topic of perception. You create this on a slide for your class. And this to students and have them vote on which line he has here. But again, for reviewing for a course, or if you've not taught this before, you know the basics of it, but you want to a bit more in depth about the course. Great, come to some place that has excellent knowledge. What else, Diane?
We switch completely and go to the Army Leadership Guide.
And when I'm going to come up to the search, I'm going to be an Army Leadership Guide, and search for that. It is, has been peer reviewed. So, we could look at the peer review, or we could go directly to it. We'll go to the listing here. I guess that's going to tell us a little bit about it. You want me to just go to the material?
I don't have anything in particular. It's just I wanted to just show the variety.
Sure. But about leadership, and we've got a lot of great materials on leadership in the management area.
We have a lot of military students, and many of them come to us with this basic knowledge. So I thought this was particularly good because this is where a lot of them start. Interesting.
Now you intrigued me. What we're doing now is it's actually the Army Study Guide. This is a site. You can see the line of and again, this is from the Army. If your students are coming from that perspective, this may be the knowledge that they have, and maybe you can expand on this as far as leadership.
And it can as a starting point from which to build and integrate into the course.
Absolutely.
I also have an example from project management, if you'd like to see that.
Okay. So the title of it?
Project Management for the Accidental Manager.
Now, this have a peer review, but let's go to it. It's an open textbook.
I thought that would be a good example of some of the open or free textbooks that we receive.
I'll let you know that we are coming up on 2:30. It's about 2:26 right now. We don't have to stop at 2:30, but just to make you aware of the timing.
Okay.
Is it nice to stop and ask for questions, maybe?
Yes, do that. Well, I'll tell you what, since we don't have any right away, I just show you one other aspect of MERLOT. Some of you may have to go at the end of the hour, but that is what we call our federated search, and search other libraries. The goal is to help you find materials for your class. And if you can't find materials in MERLOT, we will be able to find them. So let's say, I'm just going to use the term project management. I'm going to search MERLOT, but I'm going to search OpenStax and OpenCommons as my two resources. What MERLOT does then is goes out and searches those two databases for materials that have to do with project management, or say project management in either their title or their description. The more of them you check, the longer it takes. So a few minutes here, and we will come up with a list. Okay, this is for Commons. This book covers the basics of project management. This is all from OER Commons. And the one about using this, okay, we also have one down here, project management questions and answers. Go to this one, we click on that, and we're going out to that site, and this is the University materials, the OpenStax, and there's some questions and answers about project management should you want those. So if you can't find it in MERLOT, the way I got there was this search box up here that we went to before. Okay, this search box, and search other libraries. You can also search materials by ISBN if you're looking for a textbook that's similar to a book that you might be using. Other thing I do want to mention, I'm going to stop sharing the MERLOT site at the moment, and I do want to go back to the PowerPoint. On to the next slide, because I do want to mention what we looked at peer reviews, and we saw how important they can be in making a decision about whether or not to use the material. I really encourage you all to consider being a peer reviewer for MERLOT. We do training, and whoops, I lost this. We do training. I actually do the training for it. We call it Grape Camp. I do it with grapes and wine. It's getting reviewers accustomed to the process of evaluation. And this is an online workshop to prepare you for doing it, just so you don't have any questions about what all is wanted, what is needed in the reviews. So it's 10-hour sessions for 1 week. I've got them scheduled monthly. We start another session in February. As peer reviewer, you do reviews. And, you do it on your own time. We normally give people 30 days to complete the review. We're very flexible. If you say this really isn't up my alley, we can say, fine, we'll find something else for you. And, okay, Eva, in here. And it's really great for to the discipline as well as professional development. I find more and more peer reviewers that say they've changed their own teaching as a result of doing peer reviews, and they enhance their own teaching looking at the materials that they look at. We try to give recognition to our peer reviewers. We don't have a lot to do it with, but we do send a letter of appreciation at the end of the year, and we note which material you have peer reviewed. If you are willing to do 5 or more peer reviews a year, you become a board member. You can become an honorary board member, which means you don't have to do any work, or you become an actual board member like Diane. And then we also have a program that if you do 15 or more reviews, you become a peer reviewer extraordinaire. And because I'm just a consultant now, I actually did 15 peer reviews this year because you get free registration at our conference, and that's about $750, I think. So we like to do as much recognition. I've written letters for tenure and promotion for peer reviewers. We will support you as much as we can. Now, I scare you off by talking about 5 reviews and 15 reviews. All we ask is that you do 2 reviews a year. So a semester would be the minimum. I really do encourage you to think about that. Diane would be your contact on campus. She's there too at troy.edu. You can just email me at kathy@merlot.org. Okay, other questions?
Any other questions? So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much for being here for such a formative session. I think it's going to be very helpful to instructors as they work to incorporate some of these materials in their courses. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. I'm always thrilled to talk about MERLOT. Everybody for being here.
Dr. Swift.